So I'm not quite sure why exactly, but I have basically tried to record this a few times, but I keep rambling on way too damn long. So I'm gonna try and keep this one a little bit short. This is a whole bunch of knives that I've picked up over the last I don't know, week or so, and wanted to talk about them. I'm going to focus a little bit on about half of them here, and there's also a brand new one here from White Mountain Knives. But the first ones that I find really, really interesting here, I think I've mentioned them maybe in passing once or so recently. This is from a newer company called Mocenary. Not mercenary, there's no R in there, or an N. So it's a little strange. However, at least these first two models here are both designed by Rattlesnake, who has done some work with Tucson in the past, and has also basically done all of the designs for SixLeaf. So that's a little interesting. This is kind of their flagship and their first model here. And I actually really, really like this. I haven't had it for more than a day or so. But yeah, so as you can see, this is a titanium frame lock, very minimal in design. We got some nice milling work, very, very industrial design sort of thing. And no, it's not integral, as you can see. Yeah, but the backspace that does go up the whole way there is kind of a clamshell design. Tucson's done a couple of those, and some of them are some of my more favorite designs. This one has also a lanyard hole integrated into there. And the blade is fairly up towards the top here, but absolutely covered even way up there where the blade might be a little bit, but that also has to do with the fact that this has a 3.2 millimeter blade stock. We can see pretty tight tolerances down here, especially when it comes up here. It's not actually touching any of those, but obviously it comes close. You can see this is a front flipper only. Kerchunk, there we are. There's the company logo there. And on the back, we have the Rattlesnake logo, we have the model number, and this one is an M390 steel. Looks like I got a couple of fingerprints on here. But I just actually finished reprofiling and sharpening this guy. So it's at nice 15 degrees behind the edge. And the reprofile did take a while, so this definitely isn't a ridiculously soft M390. Of course, I haven't done a cut test on it, so, maybe some of that stuff will go by the wayside when I actually try. But, first impressions are fantastic on it. The pocket clip here, unfortunately you can't swap it over to the other side, but hey, it's a liner lock / frame lock, and most companies don't give a rat's ass about that. But the pocket clip does, or the screw for the pocket clip does screw into titanium on both sides. However, this does feel quite strong. I had absolutely no problems taking it off or rethreading it back on there once I've put it all back together. So, yeah, no lock bar access there. That's okay, but you can see the plunge grind on it is very, very shallow and stuff like that. You got a few sharpenings in there before you really have to deal with anything. And if I'm not mistaken, I do think that these 3 notches here on the front can accept a tritium vial if you want to make it glow in the dark, kind of like what the Tucson TS16 did with this kind of first groove here on both sides. Just kind of a neat thing, but I like how it looks regardless. You can do that whole front flip thing with your index finger. I tend to not like to do that, especially if I actually need to pull the knife out for something, but it's kind of fun to play around with a little bit. It's got a sandblast blade, and you can hear it kind of move a little bit. Yeah, so that'll wear in a little bit with time. That being said, it still has a really great action on it, and uses the same bearings as the Kershaw Lucha here. Not that it's super important, but I did notice that the other day when I did pull this apart, and one of the bearings on it did fall on the carpet, and I couldn't find it for just a little bit here. I need to be a little bit more careful with that recently. But when I did actually pull these things out, these are the steel ones that were in here because I replaced them with the ceramics. Same exact specs, inside, outside, thickness, all that sort of stuff. And I really wish that Flytanium actually printed the actual specs on there. But, oh well. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying this thing. It's got enough grip on it because of the milling on there. Nice. Jimping with a decent amount of texture on the back there. And this guy really does remind me of another knife from Caleb Fetchner. Let's see if I can't Fetchner the knife that I am trying to refer to here. It's called the Shinobi. I don't quite remember. Aha, here. It's the TS67. You know, obviously this one doesn't have a compound grind, but it still has that same Japanese Tonto-ish kind of look to it. And this one, because of that backspacer, doesn't really have the problem of the blade being really thick and creeping up way too much up here. I've ended up sharpening this one down so it doesn't do that, but yeah, so there you go. This one I really enjoy. The inside of it, which I'm not going to take it apart because this is already taking way too dang long, has all the information in there, like the designer, the name of the company, the blade steel, and all of that sort of stuff. The other one from them is this one right here. This one is much less high-end. This is the Mocenary, MKO2. It's also a rattlesnake design. As you can see, this one is very Nessmuck inspired. Maybe doesn't curve up quite as much as like a Canadian camp knife kind of a Nessmuck vibe going on, but still very much that. What I really can say is this micarta that they're using is fantastic. Really has a nice texture to it. As you can see, it's got a nice thread count and weave. I don't have any voids or anything. Pocket clip is a little bit different, but still just that kind of a deep carry sort of thing going on there. But it has a little bit more of a spoon end on there, so it reminds me a little bit more of a Spyderco. Just a little bit easier to get in and out of the pocket, and it's pretty comfortable. This one's in D2, obviously. It's a budget model, and well, they're starting out with that. Yeah, it'll stay at way down here on the flipper tab. It took me a while to actually find that. The only thing that I can really complain about on this is what happened when I took the thing apart. And I think, I don't know necessarily if it was just this one or not, but actually disassembling it and putting it back together was a little difficult. And I think it has to do with basically those steel liners. It kind of seemed like maybe they started to assemble this and put it in the jig. And not really compensate for thermal expansion and contraction, and these liners were probably a little bit warmer. So it did take just a little bit of manipulation to put this thing back together. So not the easiest thing to do as far as maintenance goes, but as far as the quality of the knife, once it is all in there, it's super nice. The detent's not too strong on it, and you got that hole. You can thumb roll it open, and it's all right, but yeah, I do prefer that reverse flick. And yeah, nice flipper tab on this as well. Not bad. Neither one of these were super expensive. I mean, this one obviously was more. I honestly, at the moment, don't remember how much I ended up paying for this. This one was kind of an impulse buy as I was buying this one, because I saw that it was out there. And this one was probably $35 or something like that. Right in that kind of budget range. Not bad at all. Let's see. The other one that I had just kind of opened up yesterday. This is a, almost said Kershaw. This is a Kizer. This is a Hic-cup. Yeah. It's an Azo design, or Azomai, if you want the full name of them. It's got their standard pocket clip on there. This thing came with what they call vintage micarta, or it's basically natural, but they haven't added any oils on there. And you can already see this thing has taken a lot of color on it. It all was basically this color right up at the tip here. But basically over the last day or so, handling it, playing around with it, doing the reprofile, which I had just finished on at 17 degrees. Yeah, this thing's pretty interesting. If I have a relaxed grip on it, it's basically a 3-finger knife, but I can cramp up a little bit there, which isn't bad for a hammer grip or something like that, and I can get all 4 fingers on there. But we also have a flat part there that works out. This is a very bulbous drop point, almost spearish, but you know, obviously that grind line doesn't go straight to the tip, but otherwise basically that. It's a button lock. It's using single row bearings on here. It's got that nice hole there for the reverse flicking. And when I took this apart, it was actually kind of interesting. This is a button lock, but that button lock goes through the blade. There's basically a crescent kind of shape that that whole thing rides upon. So this button lock also acts as the blade stop on it, which is interesting. But if you do want to actually pull that button lock off of the blade, you do have to do some more disassembly. Wasn't necessary for me just doing the cleaning, but yeah, it's something to keep in mind. This is in 154 cm. It's a nice little knife. I like it quite a bit. I do think I plan on kind of removing that pocket knife so I can get basically more of an even kind of color on this micarta before I slap it back on there. Otherwise, you just end up with this kind of shadow thing. It ends up happening with most micarta knives, especially ones that aren't already pre-introduced with oil. Well, yeah, it's a super neat one. Let's see. And the last one I think I want to talk about on this one. No, I got 2 more. All right. So this is a SixLeaf. It's the SL17. Yeah. And as you can see, this has that lightning strike anode, or the heat anodization on the titanium here. This one has a thumb stud as well as the flipper. What I can say, this one isn't quite nearly as bad, but it has the same problem that I've had with my rake or ruaiki knives, in that it is tuned specifically for that flipper tab. And using that thumb stud, even though, yeah, I have my fingers here on the pocket clip, not on there, it takes a little bit more pressure than you probably want if you're trying to deploy it by the thumb studs here. This one is kind of a recurve, elongated American Tanto kind of style, but unlike most of them that have come out, especially recently, this one is a full flat single grind rather than a weird compound grind with some hollow grind sections and stuff like that. And because of that, I do find that for the slicing characteristics on this, I think it works a little bit better. You know, it's obviously a little bit more simple in construction, but that's okay. My initial thoughts, especially when they had this same kind of finish that Tucson has just started doing, I kind of thought maybe this one was partly OEM'd by SixLeaf or something like that. But after taking it apart, I really don't think so. There's just a lot of different things going on the inside, the bearing races, the bearings themselves, and just the finish on the titanium on the inside. And even some of the hardware here, where it's using barrel spacers screwed in on both sides rather than a Chicago screw through them. It really makes me think that somebody else did the manufacturing on this. And that's okay. I don't really have a problem one way or the other. It's a fairly comfortable knife, especially for my larger than average, I would say extra large hands there. It's got that little nice smooth curve over here from the... What I was going to say there was it reminds me of the TS-286 from Wong that has kind of a dip. That one is a little bit more pronounced than this, but still, same kind of thing going on there. Quite a decent little knife here. It's obviously in D2, as most of Rattlesnake's stuff. Well, a minimal majority of them do. You know, obviously they had some of those fixed blades in 440C, there was a weird double detent in 1.4116, and of course there's the really strange one right here that's basically using VG10 Damascus. So they have played around a little bit more with things. Oh yeah, and also M390 for a slip joint. So yeah, they've done a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, this is kind of the first titanium frame lock that I've ended up saying from. Yeah, it seems to be a pretty good job on it. So one other knife that I was going to cover in this video is this guy right here. This is an Artisan cutlery. It's the Sirius. This is a Ray Laconico design, and you can definitely tell that. Well, for one, it's got the fullers on both sides that he does on quite a few of them, but it also says that very blatantly on the G10 backspacer on here. This is, like I said, it's the Sirius. This one is an S35 VN steel. I think that's mostly what they've ended up making these out of. Some of them in the past have been frame locks. That is not the case here. The box designates this model variant as the DDRC. And they've mentioned DRC micarta before on a couple of their models. And from what I understand, that DRC stands for deep red coral, which was a color that they've ended up making their micarta in. This one in particular is purple. But looking up close, I do see striations of red in there. And to me, I kind of think that they basically took some of those DRC knives that maybe they didn't ship out initially and then did a little bit of a different dye job on them and threw a different skew on them. But that's okay. It still got me to buy it, so there's that. The thumb stud sticks out super nice and tall on here. This has a DLC coating on it, diamond-like carbon. And because the knife underneath was super crazy polished, you can see it still has, you can still see the satin lines because it wasn't a mirror polished sort of thing going on there. But obviously, if you are looking for a knife with a black blade for tactical reasons, you don't want to use this because that's going to act just like a mirror signal. So it completely goes against that. That particular use case for it. If you're going to do that, PVD or especially Cerakote are fantastic for it, but this is much more shiny. So this will match your PlayStation 3s that you have at home, including all of the fingerprints that it immediately picks up once you touch it. We got nested liner locks on here. Milled pocket clip. This one's a little bit more difficult for me to get it in and out of the pocket than some others. I think that has to do with the pocket clip not having quite as much flex as I'm used to, and also partially being in that that little fuller there on the handle. This thing reminds me a lot of kind of just a little bit larger Benchmade bug out. You can see it is just a little bit longer as far as the handle, but the blade is just a little bit shorter rather than quite as tall as this guy here. Also really light. This is just under 3.5 inch blade and 3.35 ounces, so it's under that ounce and inch mark. Not quite as much as an original bug out. This one's in G10, so it's going to be a little bit heavier. But it seems to have a lot of those same kind of features. Nice slim profile and stuff like that. This one should be fun. I do plan on doing quite a few cut tests in S35 VN since I've had some people ask about it. That's definitely going to be one of them. Where the heck is... this is another one of them. That's the Spyderco... Tenacious, Resilience, Repentance. I don't fucking remember now. The big one. But there's also some others that I do plan on doing a little bit of testing on here. I do have a concept in S35 VN. I did start at one point trying to do a cut test on here, but I didn't finish. So that'll be fun to kind of do that. And I have some other ones as well that I haven't fully pulled out, but I do plan on doing those as well. There's one from Boker. and another one that I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, that's basically what I have for at least this half of these new knives that I've ended up pulling out. I've just had a ton of them come in recently. These two Mocenary ones, I'd actually waited like a month and a half longer than I probably, well, I ordered them, and then right before they were getting ready to ship them out, they had some COVID problems in their Yangjiang province of China, so these took quite a bit longer to actually get out the door than was necessary. Well, no, it was absolutely necessary. I'm not going to say that, but it did make me wait, so hey, whatever. All right, so I'll catch you in the next one, probably in a few days, so I can cover the rest of them that I'd ended up picking up. In the meantime, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day. And subscribe.